emergency care was designed to reduce waiting and stress.
What if every room was private, at no extra cost, and a loved one could spend the night?
What if you wanted your care at the extraordinary new Sharp Memorial Hospital? You choose an affiliated physician at 1-800-82-SHARP or at sharpmemorial.com.
Forget everything you ever knew about hospitals.
Race 77 about ready to go. The Women's Collegiate Novice Grand Final in Washington is in lane 1. Washington State is in lane 2. Oregon State in 3. Oklahoma, a relatively new program, is in lane 4. UCLA is in lane 5, and USC is in lane 6.
You can call in the time. We'll start the map while you're chatting.
Lane 6, back 6 inches, please.
Well, as we wait for the start of this women's novice grand final, it really is exciting to see a new program like the University of Oklahoma, coached by Leanne Crane, make it into the grand final. We have your perennial champion, University of Washington, in lane 1. They too are always looking strong. Washington State, Oregon. Excuse me, that would be Oregon State. Make sure I got that right. Wouldn't want any problems with a conflict of the Civil War here. We're moments away from the start. You might be able to hear in the background the rookery of the Blue Herons cackling away.
Attention. Go.
And we have a start of the Women's Novice Grand Final, Collegiate Novice Grand Final. All boats have cleared the starting platforms. And bursting into the lead in lane 1 is the University of Washington. They've opened up at the 100-meter mark. They've already opened up 2 seats over outside lane 6, USC and UCLA. And then we're 2 seats back to Washington, Oregon State, and Washington State. But the wind has built a little bit from the earlier races of the day. And the University of Washington is handling this water very, very well. They are now 4 seats over UCLA. UCLA is 1 seat over USC. Then it's back to Oregon State, Oklahoma, Washington State. As the crews have settled down into their race cadence after their starting sprints, and just going to work right now. In lane 1 is the University of Washington, eking out another seat, and another seat at the 400-meter with a big push as they come off their settle, and a big move here at the 400-meter mark. They've worked themselves out to about a tiller, that is 1 length over Oregon State. Oregon State is able to push up through UCLA and USC. Washington State is coming up with Oregon State, and Oklahoma is hanging tight, half a length down. As we cross the 500, it is 1 length lead for the University of Washington over the Beavers from Oregon State. They maintain 3 seats over UCLA and Washington State. Then it's back to Oklahoma, and then something has happened to USC. They have fallen off the pack dramatically. They're now open water back to Oklahoma. I did not see what happened, but something major took them from in contention to 3rd place back to the back. So as we approach the 750-meter mark, just going to work is the University of Washington. Then it's Oregon State trying to hold off a charge from Washington State. Washington State is bringing with them UCLA. UCLA is 7 seats over Oklahoma, and then here comes University of Southern California fighting their way back up into the back of the trailing pack. So that's the call for the 750.
Event number 77, the Women's Collegiate Novice Grand Final. Lane assignments, and currently in 1st place after 750 meters, University of Washington. In lane number 2, Washington State. Lane 3, Oregon State, currently challenging for the lead. In lane number 4, Oklahoma. UCLA is in lane number 5, and USC is in lane number 6.
You
Yes, the crew that's having a good day at the office here is the University of Washington Huskies in lane 1. They certainly seem to have opened up a commanding lead on the rest of the field as they approach the 1,000 meter mark. The only crew that's really hanging on to them at all appears to be the Oregon State crew in lane 3, with the Washington State University crew still in touch but sandwiched between them in lane 2. As they approach the 1,000 meter mark, it's really turned into 2 races here. The programs, the established programs from the University of Washington, Washington State and Oregon State have separated themselves a little bit from the other 3 boats. University of Oklahoma are in touch with the UCLA. They look like they're going to be duking it out for 4th place, with the University of Southern California on the far side after that mystery lack of pace, which Bob Whitford alluded to, fighting to get back on even terms with the race. But once you've fallen that far back, it's difficult. You're rowing in a vacuum, and you've got to really dig deep in order to pull it back.
Along the shoreline, the University of Washington continues as our leader, and Oregon State on their outside, followed by Washington State in lane number 2 in between. Then out to lane number 5, UCLA. Back inside to Oklahoma, and USC is trailing. This is the Women's Collegiate Novice Grand Prix Grand Final. And our current leader, University of Washington, in lane number 1 along the shoreline. But Oregon State has continued to keep pace, although they have not closed up that much ground. Washington State closing ever so slightly on Oregon State. And then there is open water back to UCLA, inside to Oklahoma, and outside to USC.
Yes, it looks as though UCLA have moved away from Oklahoma a bit in the third 500. USC on the far side still struggling to come back onto terms in this race. But it's the University of Washington Huskies who are putting in a commanding performance here. But the Oregon State Beavers are really pushing hard. They're not making this easy for the University of Washington. They're not making much impression on them, but they're keeping the University of Washington honest right down to the last stroke.
It is Washington in lane number 1 as our current leader, as they have been almost throughout after getting an excellent start. They were challenged at one time by Washington State and Oregon State. Washington State has fallen back, and Oregon State continues to shadow the Huskies along the shoreline. And in third spot is Washington State, then looking far outside to UCLA, then inside to Oklahoma, and outside to USC. This is the University of Washington and Oregon State beginning to pick up the pace and closing ever so slightly. Both crews have open water back to Washington State, and then we have open water back to UCLA, open water to Oklahoma and USC. This is Washington. Oregon State has put on a drive, but they are still about 5 seats behind. It is Washington along the shoreline, being shadowed by Oregon State almost the entire length of our 2,000 meter course. Washington State is in third position, open water back to UCLA, and then Oklahoma and Southern California. Looking back to our leaders, it appears that Washington may have held off that late drive by Oregon State, and they will finish Washington 1, Oregon State 2 unofficially, with Washington State moving up to that third position, and then outside to UCLA, then Oklahoma, the relatively new program, and then outside to USC. Apparently the Trojans had some trouble in the early going, not exactly sure what it was, but they fell off the pace rather radically and were out of the hunt from the very beginning. And once again, our unofficial leaders, Washington, followed by Oregon State, Washington State, UCLA, Oklahoma, and USC. Lots of Pasta has a variety of delightful handmade fresh pastas and sauces. Crew teams, families, and friends, whether you're looking for workout fuel or a great meal, Lots of Pasta is the place to go. Lots of Pasta, located just blocks away on Garnett Avenue in the Vaughn's Shopping Center. Here on our location in the vendor's booth area, So Sporty has a gigantic bargain bin, unisuits, jackets, shorts, t-shirts, and more. Come on by and do some rooting. Prices as low as $1. So Sporty also has a line of clothing just for women. Stop by and check out the new products. Let So Sporty know what you're looking for, and they can help you out.